And not everybody knows that. And they're kind of going off of guesswork of, oh, it's 10:04 right now. I think I called you 5 minutes ago, when in fact you may have called 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes ago. That's always off. The important thing to note here is that these accident reports are not evidence. The only instance in which they might be able to be considered evidence in a trial would be as if the officer actually witnessed the accident. And even then, if they witness the accident, a lot of times they will have another officer come out, and that officer will do the report. And therefore, that effectively, that accident report is nothing more than hearsay. Now, will insurance companies use what's written on the accident report as if it's truth? If it favors them, they absolutely will. If it's a reason for them to tie up the claim, deny the claim, keep the claim going longer, making somebody file a lawsuit, they're probably going to stick with that story. Years ago, we saw an accident report where they had who was driving and who was a passenger in a vehicle swapped. And the reason that they had them swapped is because when a witness account saw the aftermath of the accident, the passenger was helping the driver out of the vehicle and standing by the driver's door. So they just assumed, hey, that person was driving when they weren't. And it was a whole hullabaloo. We had to file a lawsuit in the case, and we ended up getting it worked out because the insurance company denied that all the way to the point of depositions and litigation, even though the injuries to the people lined up with where they were actually sitting, not where the police report said they were sitting. And the insurance company had about zero interest in logic because it allowed them to deny a claim for another 6-8 months. So sometimes you have to deal with that. But understand that any of these issues can be overcome because the facts are the facts. The credibility of your statement, the other people's statements that are involved in the accident, and witnesses will be part of what goes into play if the case goes to trial or in the litigation stages that lead up to trial. So understand that if you're dealing with a situation like that, somebody like myself or folks at my office, we can help navigate that. Now, what do you do? What do you do if there's an inaccuracy in a police report or an accident report that is going to hang up your claim? Well, number one, if it's early enough and it's a big enough error, we have very rarely, this happens like twice a year, and we handle about 300 cases like this every year. Once or twice, we are able to get these things amended, edited, reissued, but it doesn't happen a whole lot. The issue has to be huge, like we switched who the parties were, which does happen from time to time. If it's a misspelling, if it's an inaccuracy, if it's saying that Johnny, who was a passenger in vehicle 1, is actually listed as a passenger for vehicle 2. I've seen that before. They're not going to change anything that's little like that. But understand that sometimes insurance companies will use these things and they'll dig their heels in and they'll still deny a claim, or they'll still deny paying properly on a claim, because ultimately their business model is to find any way they can to diminish what they're paying out on as many claims as possible. It's simple. It is kind of the theme for every episode of this podcast and everything that I do in this office every day is fight against insurance companies who are trying to save money, because that money comes out of your pocket if you're the victim in one of these accidents, and we're here to fight for you. So the easiest thing that you do, and you should be doing this before you even have that accident report, is contact my office. Put us to work right away. You won't even have to request or pick up that police report. We'll do it for you. We will review it with you. We will review it for you. We will make sure that it is accurate. And if there's anything that needs to be changed, we'll fight to get it changed. And that doesn't always happen, but that's okay, because it's not evidence and it's not going to sink your case. The facts of what happened are what's most important. The facts are what's going to be on trial if the case were to proceed to litigation. And even then, only about 3% of these cases actually go all the way to trial. And that's about 3% of the cases that we file a lawsuit in. So it's an even smaller percentage of the number of cases that we handle. So don't lose sleep over what you're seeing in one of these accident reports. It's only a minor element in the grand scheme of things. So I want to remind everybody one last time, we talked about it at the top, betweentwominds.com. That's betweentwominds.com. There are 2 shows that are fundraisers for local high schools, Bow Manor and the Tome School this weekend. Tickets are as low as $15. So go to betweentwominds.com, pick which one of those shows is most convenient for you. It's going to be a ton of fun. We sponsored those shows. We're involved in those shows. And as always, if you have something that you'd like to ask, something that you want me to discuss on the podcast, email it to info@bowerslawmd.com. That's where we get these. Make sure you mention that you want me to talk about it on the podcast, because if it's accident related, I may just respond and give you guidance and not know that you want it on the podcast. If I talk about it on the podcast, like any other situation, it's going to be completely anonymous. I'll never blow you up or mention you, even though you may hear of a situation on here that sounds like what you're dealing with. You may have already heard of a situation that sounds like what you're dealing with, because most of the scenarios in which I talk about on these podcasts come from questions or odd scenarios or things that we deal with in real cases, even though we're not directly talking about those actual cases here. Want to check out some of those old podcast episodes? Go to bowerslawmd.com. That's our law firm's website. Tons of information about our firm, what we do in these accident cases. But if you want those old podcast episodes, up at that top bar where it says podcast, just click right there and it's going to give you the whole list of everything. They're kind of in chronological order, but it's my understanding that you can search through there and find specific topics. So if you have a question and you search there and it's not there, then you know what to do. Shoot me that email, info@bowerslawmd.com, and we'll get it in queue to talk about on the podcast. Question not related to an accident here in Maryland, no problem. I won't answer it in this format, but I will bring a guest on. You've seen a bunch of those before. We've talked about all sorts of things, whether they were school abuse cases or the archdiocese cases or criminal law, expungements, divorce, your wills, trusts, and estate planning, all that kind of stuff. I bring a guest on. We talk with somebody that's super qualified that actually does that all day, every day, and get you the answers to your questions. Of course, if you do need us for an accident, 885-6200. We had a little weird glitch last week with our phones, but we are back. We are 100% operational. So if you call, you'll get somebody from our office. See you next week. Same time, same channel. Be well, everybody. Be